I'm coming in to share a breakthrough in my creative process. Okay, so I'm drawing here, and it's not really hitting. I'm not sure where to go. I've drawn a lot of awesome things already tonight, but I'm getting kind of like the end of the night drawing blues, where I've still got creative energy, but I'm not sure where to channel it. I'm trying to draw some Tifa, drawing some Rick Rubin, but not even his awesome muscles and creative prowess is opening the door for me, you know? In a minute, I'll show off some of the things that I've been drawing tonight, which are like really cool. We designed a whole bunch of Digimon ideas, did a bunch of reference from Final Fantasy VIII, did like figures, forms, all the stuff we've been doing. And it's hitting. I'm finding a way to ground all of the techniques we've been digging into. So it's like, what is it? Is it fish? Is it forms? And I hit a stride when I started trying to draw again the exercise of roots, So getting in, we're just doing some roots. Like, that's something that you can draw from wherever you're at, You start drawing a couple and you start turning the forms in space, You can turn them down, they can go any direction at all. And all of a sudden, it's like my creative mind started working again. There's enough abstraction and enough form, and it's what Feng Zhu says about roots being abstract enough that you could say that's a perfect drawing of the root that you're trying to capture. And if you use photo reference, you can go in a little bit more, where there's a little bit of call and response. You're aiming for a mark, and you're hitting that mark, maybe. Then you like move over, and I've found myself in this position at a lot of times in my life, at a lot of times in my creative work, where you're not sure what exactly to draw, and you need something to start creating form, and to get that form moving through space. Like, once you start drawing these roots and you draw them a little bit, you can imagine the turning of legs and torso, or a snake or a dragon, any kind of creatures, You're creating a sense of movement and depth. And then, you can split it into pieces. Yeah, you can do some bits of line work where you're going out and moving up, and you can make it flat to rounded, to a transition between flat to rounded. You can make a root split into two and then become one again. You can make it twist around. Yeah? So you're just kind of like moving these forms in space, and it got me on point again. And this is even something that I could do with my left hand, I think. If you're just starting and you have no muscle memory, right? And granted, I still have years of form and theory, but you can start taking these movements from wherever you're at, and you want it to like twist around, and then be moving towards us again. And it might not seem that rewarding at first, but all of a sudden you've created like this movement through space. And even if the edges of your lines are rough, that's not a bad thing. A lot of roots and trees are rough at points, and you can do things like, now this is the base of a tree, right? This is the base of a tree. You get a little bit more movement. Yeah? It's like changing of angles as it moves up, like a bonsai or something, and splits into different shafts, divergences in the pattern. It's nice. Yeah? And we've got a series we're going to do. Today I was like, oh man, something that I get a lot of a lot of EXP from is drawing the same thing again. And when you draw the same thing again, like a second time, then you simplify it. You try and take out any extra steps, right? You make it more compact. Like now that you know the correct way to draw it, you try to take out all of the steps where you're finding that correct form, and you go in and you just kind of hit that perfect angle again and again, and you start to see how few moves you can get it in. Right? Well, we'll do something here. We'll take one on. I just wanted to share this exercise though. We'll give a demonstration of now that my drawing muscles are warmed up again, now that I've got a sense of confidence, then, you know, you can take that into whatever your goal is, whatever your project is. But just starting to move forms, yeah, in space. I did a bunch of these kind of winding, twisting paths, but then you start to create something. You know, you create diversity and depth, and just the more that you're thinking about forms as they move through space and as they relate to one another, the directions and angles on them, the more you can apply that to any kind of art craft, any kind of art theory, any kind of specific forms. Yeah? And you're drawing like shapes that can become like ships, you know? Pods, robots, creatures, fish. Yeah, we've been doing a bunch of fish. We give Rick Rubin a good fish next to him. You can do any kind of angle on fish, which is great. You can do any kind of size and scale. Some fish are slim, some fish are fat. Yeah, some of them are like lightning fish, you know? They come from a different place. They have special abilities. Yeah. Here. We've been doing a bunch of these Digimon creatures, and what I was thinking of is, you know, I'll get like a small piece of paper that I can put next to these so that you can see both of them on screen at the same time. Yeah, we can use this one. And once you have a creature, you know, and their shape mapped out, then like there's your body, there's a leg, got a small fat tail going on here, and then like a chunky kind of a head. He's got like bone or stone kind of mask going on, and voila, we get this wonderful little skull dog guy. Yeah, but if you just practice something, and you're coming in to get it again, it's easier and easier to capture. I'm trying to think of like the perfect way that I can move a piece of paper next to these. I think it'd be like, if we have a piece of paper here, then yeah, we can move it next to anything. Ah, nice. Okay, so this mecha turtle thing, you know, we're going in and you can see the finished result, and then we go in and we're like capturing the form. And again, this is the end of the night. If I had just drawn this and then you go back in and you try to do it smaller, simpler, something that you can do is to try out different variations and versions of this thing. Like, if you're like, there's a shell type creature there, Then it's got claws and like, you know, little head up there with a big neck. Yeah. It's got like a snail type shell. Yeah, you get playful in creating any kind of creature. And while you're drawing turtles and stuff, to draw a map of the form, just like we were doing on the roots. Yeah. The same thing works on anatomy. Works on anatomy really well. Yeah. Let's see. You like some of these dudes? Some of these big dudes? Yeah. And you try and like even take the proportions further, maybe? Oh, this is gonna rock. I'm gonna like keep on putting practice into this, and we'll do how you can do these as quickly as possible and get a great collection of stuff that we've already done to get like a diverse amount of anatomy. We're gonna spend time doing it slowly so that when we're doing a video, we can just make it pop, you know? Give him a great big helmet type deal and a weapon. And that pushes anatomy further, but maybe we kind of could. And then, like, you could be doing some free sketch with the same kind of proportion. I was drawing some helmet guys earlier, some Elden Ring, you know. Yeah. And then like that's the forearm curve in. Like even if the form's like big and bulky, they still follow like knees to elbows, and you can articulate and turn and bend the arms at any kind of angle, all the same angles. I love thumbnailing while the design's still like loose and you can move it all over the place. So then you get some armor for one arm. Yeah, cool ass armor. Some armored boots. Yeah. Let's see, Elden Ring guy's got like ball chain. I don't want to just copy Elden Ring or anything, but we kind of need his weapon to go over here. Yeah. And then like mace ball, spikes. And then you can spend time, we'll break down each process of design individually, like how you texture armor, how you do different types of texture. And then if you go in and spend time detailing in all kinds of different ways, then when you map a new design as a thumbnail, you can choose what kind of texture and surface you put on each of these. Like this looks fantasy right now, but it would not take much to adapt this dude into a sci-fi and to throw any kind of paneling and armor on top of it, kind of like reference some mechas and some different kind of things and fit it into a world. Like this guy could be any kind of probably adversary, but he wouldn't even have to be. This could be like your main proportions on like a hero, a support, you know? He wouldn't have to be main villain. He could be someone who is an adversary, but then they win him over, you know, non-violently. They're able to appeal to his better nature, and then he helps them in some way, you know? You think of any relation between characters and the way you're figuring things out. It's awesome. Let's see. Yeah, I've been doing a bunch of reference from different types of things. We'll rest up here. We'll rest up here pretty soon. But you can see like some of these are really fun. Going into different types of design, all kinds of different references from different places. And here we're taking like a design from Chrono Cross of a frog monster that didn't look much different than this guy. And then some like, you know, some Tibetan dogs, and just like you have the build of one thing and the details from a different thing, and you fit them together. And in fitting them together, you'll find all kinds of like places that fall between the two designs, right? Like the muscles will be different. There's ways that you have to use your imagination to fill in the gaps. Like in no place do you find a perfect amount of details. So you start to use your imagination, and just intuitively, subconsciously, you start using things you've already learned from different places, where you're not just putting two designs together, but you're referencing your visual library, everything that you know about designs, and things that you've seen all over throughout your whole life become part of the equation. And, you know, just by reflex, you start putting these things together and using your visual library, which you can reference more and more and more as you're doing original designs that have never existed anywhere, and kind of just like seeing where the shapes take you. Yeah. This guy. Big and bulky, but maybe he's really quick. He's got like upturned pointy shoes. He's doing his step forward. Okay, yeah. We're doing some of this guy, but then you could also, like, you know, reference a figure that's more like a lion, more like the traditional kind of place where this design and face comes from, at least. But instead of just copying one place, now we've taken his face and we're gonna go in and make a new type of creature out of these two parts. And you can see how we're doing it. Like, this is just the most basic aspects of this design. And then the more you get into it, the more every single thing that you reference and then map like this. Like, not just to have drawn once, but then you draw it again, and then you change it, and then you simplify it. And each time it becomes something that gets more reflexive to use in any way that you so choose. You know, you become the master of your designs and your design process, which you should always be. But to start to feel that, you know, to start to feel that reflexively and intuitively is awesome. You know, the more you practice, the more you free sketch, the more confidence you get, the more that you can make your pen, your pencil, your tablet, and your, you know, canvas into an extension of your imagination. And the more that when you start to imagine wild characters, or when you find a story that has a character or a moment, a scene, a monster, a creature, anything that captures your imagination, you can start to remix it in real time. You can start to remix it. You can start to take note of things. And once you get the hang of mapping shapes, and you learn a couple of basic shape builds, like you know how to draw humans, and then you know how to draw dogs and tigers and different animals. I'm still getting it down, but every time I practice, I get better. Then if you see a different type of dog, you know, you're playing an RPG game, you're like, okay, he's like a dog, but then there's differences in the design. And instead of having to map all of these complex anatomical details, you just map the differences. You map the things that you see that are unique and signature to the design. Here, let's make this guy having a better time. Yeah. See, it's like not terrible. Not terrible at all. Like, honestly, this guy's great. Enchanted Mount. Yeah. And drawing these fantastical creatures has me thinking of like scenarios, right? Running different like scenes back as I'm imagining examples for comics, you know? And it really doesn't have to be perfect. But I'm thinking of like the first few arcs of Yu Yu Hakusho, and like the tournament. And in like the second arc is like after the first tournament and they get called to the demon world. It's where they first meet Hiei and Kurama, and they got the 4-man team, and they're going into the demon castle, and it's a series of trials and traps. Ear. And the 4 of them have to deal with them with fighting spirit and their unique abilities. And just to use the very most basic framework, or even like it's like a zombie apocalypse type scenario with these demon insects that are like attacking people, and the blue-haired Botan, Yusuke's, you know, his spirit guide, stays behind to fight zombies while they go in to the demon world, you know, and she's got to keep his girlfriend safe. It's like Botan's story of what happens there. You know, you start to open up not only all these aspects of design, but aspects of storytelling as well. Let's see. This is a cool head. Yeah, you can start referencing from everywhere. Here, we could do some free sketching. So you're doing like some Final Fantasy VIII earlier, and you definitely like memorize forms that you've done even just a couple times. So I have like Minotaur type leg build. I have like muscly and curve around, like rib cage. You can have this curve into a tail or not, and then like pecs, but going like out and forward to like a neck. I can see. Okay, we're drawing on frame. And we'll come back and do this perfectly next time. Right now I'm kind of just getting EXP, but it's good to work from where you're at. You know, not everything has to be perfect. When you're practicing art, things are never going to be perfect, and you gotta work from where you're at. So sometimes like making mistakes, I'll leave it in for like, you know, it takes a while to get to like a very polished and refined place. But you should start enjoying art from wherever you're at. You know, it doesn't have to be like finished or polished or even good before you can, you know, enjoy it. And you learn one thing, you should celebrate that thing that you've learned, even if it's not polished and refined and perfect. Okay, so like neck muscle into some big badass shoulders. into like arm muscles. Yeah, and like shoulder. You do like arm moving. Yeah, like forwards. And back. Yeah. And then if you're gonna try and draw it quickly, yeah. As you start to just get a loose gestural thumbnail, you can build new shapes that you haven't even seen before and build that abstraction into your design. Kind of like fish head. We'll use our, lion dog. Well, we might just use this lion dog from earlier. Somewhat successfully. Oh. I might turn this lion dog to like Minotaur. Come back in, change things at any point. It always feels good to level up. It feels great to level up, for sure. You fall in love with design again, and when you get more abilities, you're like, you've opened up new options. If you're making ideas for games, if you're making just illustrations, if you're doing comics, everything you do opens up the potential of expansion, you move into areas that you dreamed of getting or that, you haven't been to yet. Everything that you do has a kind of sense of value, and with each value, you get a sense of accomplishment. Hell yeah. Yo, it's nice amount of detailing there too. This is cool. All right, we'll come back when we're not rushing much. Let's see. Real quick, just in the sense of after practicing something, you go back and if it's the next day or just right after, if it's an hour later, whenever you practice it again, you can increase your speed and also, just double back on your retention of what do you learn. I was watching Peter Han do an amazing demonstration of this. Is like he does that drawing way better than I did there in like 1 minute. Let's try and do it real quick. Like, probably not to do the leg first, but go in and map the shoulder. The way he talks about building his anatomical form by, taking note of each piece of the anatomy as they connect to one another. And if you know their general placement and the way they relate to one another, as you're creating your angle and perspective, you can generate an image of where the next piece of anatomy is supposed to be, just with that knowledge. Like, if this is here, then that would be here. If this is this size, that would be that size. The way he says it is perfect. This is we'll come back in with what video this is from. Yeah, pretty cool. And you can switch up the pose. Then if you're doing a reference of a picture of Ichigo doing a sword swing, and you're like, this angle and perspective is crazy, then you can put it into perspective. I'm he's throwing a ball, so. I'm gonna organize all my stuff, organize our stuff, and come back in. Let's see, I can do a drawing of Tracer. Yeah, these are pretty good. Do a drawing of Tracer, but switch up the pose to front. Feet down. Yeah, this is pretty good. I mean, coming out of just being in an arts block, I couldn't even draw Rick Rubin, Not good at all. To draw Rick Rubin looking like a superhero is, he should always be able to do that, at the least. It's trigger finger out, over, trigger finger. Catch at landmarks. She's got bulky forearm gear. Her submachine guns pop out of her forearm armor. They hold her. And signature Tracer guns. So you're popping a little bit of angle on her guns. You'd want to be able to see her face. I don't think you can see her face from here. Having reached that point where it's I might have drawn everything that I can draw for the day. How do you get your mindset back into it? And to just take it to roots as forms in space that can be as abstract as possible. It's the first time I've done that. And, gotten the Feng Shu's, it builds your confidence, it builds your awareness of form. Beforehand, it was just it tires me out. I don't want to be drawing roots, I want to be drawing action. But having engaged so much art, technique and theory and drawn so many things, I could see all those things that I had been drawing that I wanted to draw in the roots as I'm drawing them. Yeah. Just like that. We'd be doing like an Overwatch comic. And I've never done exactly that pose before. We did a lot of them pretty similar. And then once you have warmed up your drawing, muscles and mindset, then as you're going back in, you can draw all kinds of things. Should draw a tracer doing a lot more than just combat stuff. You can sell a comic based on combat stuff for sure, but if you really want it to be good, it's gonna have to have a lot of character in it as well. It's gonna have to have her heroic spirit and some kind of like emotional impact. I like to see characters be pushed through the ringer, difficult truths and decisions, and having to find strength. Yeah. And we'll call it there for now. Call it there for now and come back. This is cool. This is the most excited I've been for arts. And creating a path forwards, creating a scaffolding, tying together our many dreams and visions, making them a reality. The idea for this monster collection game is so good. I'm like, I don't know whether to try and sell it or develop it, with a team, use it as an example for if we had money to get a studio space, we could continue working on this. I'll figure it out. I'll sleep on it for now, sleep on it and just, put it to the universe. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. I hope that things are going well for you. I hope that everything in the world is going your way. From drawing like roots to also draw blocks. You draw blocks and then you're drawing some kind of a, minotaur legs. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna try and like take it down to how fast you could do the thing. After you just did it and you do it a couple more times, then you can do the drawing in like 1 minute, which is where you want to try to get. And if you do that a couple times, and then you can like change the angle on it, and you work with like all kinds of crazy anatomy like that. Like his arms are like the size of his torso. But, if you were to, I apologize for moving the goddamn paper around and the angle of it so much. Yeah, same thing. Like the 4 legs go forwards, then backwards, then down. It's like forwards, backwards, down. Curve back, giant ass back muscles. And then forwards and hand. And every kind of anatomy is like, now you can use that for whatever you want. You can make it a fish thing or frog thing, or like, you can make it any kind of a thing, right? Like, You have a big old fatty build with armors and 1 foot forward. Like a giant, you know, axe or a sledge or something. Axe. Helmet. Let's pop in the peace sign. There we go. Big ass samurai helmet made of metal. All FromSoft stuff. We could do hella FromSoft stuff. Sometime we'll just draw FromSoft stuff. I know VaatiVidya has unique software that he uses to capture those Elden Ring videos that have like unique models and animations captured with like camera angles around them. If you had that, it'd be pretty easy to get a FromSoft reference library of enemies and creatures and characters from every single angle. So it'd be like an artist reference. Maybe we can trade him custom-made characters for an artist reference library of FromSoft stuff. And going back and forth between like organic and now shapes, you know? Because this is just something that we can do now. And then not only do you learn them more, but I can't believe I hadn't thought of this before, quite honestly. Not only do you learn them, but then it's like you can change them. They all become malleable. And if you're drawing sci-fi things right after drawing these guys and these different types of builds, it's like, oh, you could do that in sci-fi, or you could, you know, I mean, I guess you could use those builds for making spaceships if you wanted. Anyway, no, you see like details and base forms, and you know, as you're doing base forms and simplifying them, I feel like, you know, what Fengzi said is finally really taking root and sprouting, blossoming, flourishing. Yeah. Anyway, we'll do one more. I'm trying to just like continue to push on. I know sometimes when you're tired is a really valuable time. It's a good time to take a break, but when you can, like, continue to like grind on, and eventually, you know, you'll run out of energy and stamina. But then when you get up, as long as you haven't like worked yourself to exhaustion, as long as the work is still fun and it's not like, you know, mind numbing, yeah. Yo. Cool. When you do get your energy back, it's like you get a speed boost. You jump right into it. Okay, we'll call it there. We'll call it there. Sending you my love and light. Happy drawing. Happy drawing.